Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Cerebral Book Chat. Now, this one's a little bit special because we're going to do a junior book chat for kids, very well able, very smart kids, maybe like to listen to really good literature. And there was a story, which I always kind of think about Easter because Easter is tomorrow. And it's called The Velveteen Rabbit. Right, and that's very, very cool. It is an older book, like it's not a book that a child can read themselves very easily, unless they're cerebral, like I was. It's got, like, I believe, a 6th grade reading level. But, it's cerebral, and it has a personal connection to me because I have a very own Velveteen Berry, if you know me from my other videos, who is very, very much here and alive and real. So this story means a lot to me. So I thought on this eve of Easter, we would read some of this book, The Velveteen Rabbit. Now, there's lots of editions you may have seen, but I wanted the original. Of course, the absolute original, very much like A Christmas Carol, is very, very expensive. But I got this one for $3.99 so many years ago. And of course, as many good things, it is a British story about a little boy who was quite wealthy, and his nanny not as in grandmother, like my nanny is my grandmother. Some people's have nannies, meaning the woman that looks after the baby and the child in the nursery, because the parents are usually very busy and very high level people, so they usually don't have as much time, or it's kind of the traditional situation. So kind of like think Downton Abbey, but better, that kind of thing. So, and actual. So that's the story. So we thought we'd have a look. It's by Margery Williams, a very long time ago. Let's see when this book was actually done. Well, they don't even have the original. I'd have to look that up, or you could look that up. The first Camelot printing, which is the name of the publisher, Avon Camelot, was in 1975, but it's a much, much older book than that. And Margery Williams, it's written it. It's called The Velveteen Rabbit, or How Toys Become Real. And so it's very good. And for this occasion, I happen to have some hot chocolate, multiple flavors of chocolate. So I've got white chocolate in there, I've got brown chocolate in there, It's very good indeed. So and it's sunny today, so I'm very excited. Although it's kind of moving over past the window a bit, but you can see it a little bit there. So I thought we'd just read a little bit of it, and you guys can find out, because, it's not as hip and cool as some of the newer stuff, so you might not have read it. You might have read it. So we're going to look at the back first. The Velveteen Rabbit. Nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced, like the skin horse, understand all about it. "What is real?" asked Rabbit one day. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly. Except to those who don't understand. You can tell how much this book means to me. Well, I think the thing is that most people who are cerebral are also very sensitive. not everybody, but plenty of people are, and I know I certainly am. So, and this book means ever so much to me. So, even though the Velveteen Rabbit was bought as a Christmas toy, it does end up being kind of an Easter story. So, we're going to skip a little bit and then move on here. And see. Let's see. So, we're going to start here. The Skin Horse tells his story. So the Skin Horse is actually a horse that had been the boy's uncle's, and now, as you may do yourself, was given to the boy as a present, kind of handed down right from previous generations. So let's see. The boy's uncle made me real, he said. That was a great many years ago. But once you're real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. The rabbit sighed. He thought it would be a long time before this magic called real happened to him. He longed to be real, to know what it felt like, and yet the idea of growing shabby and losing his eyes and whiskers was rather sad. He wished he could become it without all these uncomfortable things happening to him. Isn't that just like life, though? Because I think we all want experience, but maybe we don't want to go through the things that would get us the experience. I know I consider myself quite a veteran in the ways of the world now, but it was a hard-won victory, right? It wasn't something that was easy by any means. Very challenging. There was a person called Nana, or Nanny, depending on where you are, who ruled the nursery. And she was kind of his governess, really, kind of the person that looked after him. Sometimes she took no notice of the playthings laying about, and sometimes, for whatever reason, she went swooping about like a great wind and husked them all away in cupboards. She called this tidying up, and the playthings all hated it, especially the tin ones. The rabbit didn't mind it so much, for wherever he was thrown, he came down soft. One evening, when the boy was going to bed, he couldn't find the china dog that always slept with him. But Nana was in a hurry, and it was too much trouble to hunt for china dogs at bedtime. So she simply looked about her, and seeing the toy cupboard door stood open, she made a swoop. Here, she said, take your old bunny. He'll do to sleep with you. And she dragged the rabbit out by one ear and put him in the boy's arms. That night, for many nights after, the Velveteen Rabbit slept in the boy's bed. At first, he found it rather uncomfortable, for the boy hugged him very tight, and sometimes he rolled over on him, and sometimes he pushed him so far under the pillow that the rabbit could scarcely breathe. And he missed, too, those long moonlit hours in the nursery where all the house was silent and his talks with the Skin Horse. But he very soon grew to like it, for the boy used to talk to him and made nice tunnels for him under the bedclothes that he said were like the burrows the real rabbits lived in. And then they had splendid games together in whispers when Nana had gone away to her supper and left the night light burning on the mantelpiece. And when the boy dropped off to sleep, I don't know if I can get through. It's just such a good story that I wanted to share with you. The rabbit would snuggle down under his warm little chin and dream, with the boy's hands clasped close around him all night long. And so, as time went on, the little rabbit was very happy. So happy that he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and his little tail was becoming unsewn, and all the pink rubbed off his nose when the boys kissed him. Spring came. Like right now, spring came. And they had long days in the garden. Now, the garden is really the backyard, but for some reason, English people, especially well-off English people, call their back yard the garden, or sometimes the back garden. Maybe because it kind of resembles a garden, or people used to have gardens. I know my grandmother, my nanny, she used to have a garden in her backyard, a victory garden. In her backyard, because people after the war, they would have something called victory gardens because we won the war. And it was so beautiful, right? Because you'd get up in the morning and there'd be dew on the grass, and you'd go and look at the wonderful things. She had strawberries, she had peas, I think she had tomatoes, I think she had other things. My God, though, never again did peas taste as good as the ones right out from her garden. Now, I was little, so I know a little bit, although we were by no means well off. But my grandmother did have a house and a back garden. Spring came, and they had long days in the garden, for wherever the boy went, the rabbit went too. He had rides in the wheelbarrow, picnics on the grass, lovely fairy huts built for him under the raspberry canes behind the flower border. And once, when the boy was called away suddenly to go out to tea. Now, tea, of course, is something that the British do a lot. It's before supper. It's kind of like an afternoon snack. And there is literally tea there, but then there's also everything else. There's sandwiches and cookies and all kind of things for people to. It's very civilized. It's very, very regal, really. Of course, because the Queen Elizabeth had, or Queen Victoria, perhaps as old as this book is, they would have tea. So like that. And once when the boy was called away to go out to tea, the rabbit was left out on the lawn until long after dusk. And then Nana had to come out and look for him with the candle because the boy couldn't go to sleep unless he was there. And so you can imagine how old this book is, in fact, because they don't have electric lights, or they don't have flashlights. Maybe they have electric lights, but they don't have flashlights, so she couldn't take a flashlight. She had to take a candle. He was wet through with the dew and quite earthy from diving into the burrows the boy had made for him in the flower bed. And Nana grumbled as she rubbed him off the corner of her apron. "Oh, you must have your old bunny," she said. "Fancy all that fuss for a toy." The boy sat up in bed and stretched out his hands. "Give me my bunny," he said. "You mustn't say that. He isn't a toy. He's real." When the little rabbit heard that, he was happy, for he knew that what the skin horse had said was true at last. The nursery magic had happened to him, and he was a toy no longer. He was real. The boy himself had said it. That night he was almost too happy to sleep. So much love stirred in his little sawdust heart that it almost burst. And into his boot-button eyes that had long ago lost their polish, there was a look of wisdom and beauty, so that even Nana noticed it the next morning when she picked him up and said, "I do declare if that old bunny has not got quite a knowing expression." So I just want to do, oh my goodness, and share with you guys a beautiful book that maybe you want to share with somebody special in your life, especially as it is Easter Saturday today. And for everybody who hasn't watched the other videos, this is my Velveteen Bear. And he is every bit as real. So I wish you a happy Easter or a happy spring, and I will see you again.